Adesso, nella nostra vita, nella vita di tutti, niente non è facile. È finito il momento della semplicità, tutto è difficile. E per me, volevo parlare di cose serie e parlare in italiano per questa ragione non è facile. Per questa ragione parlerei in inglese. So forgive me, but I can now talk about much more if I talk in English. So we'll go on in English. I'm happy to be talking to you, if it only through the screen, because I know that in this world, when everything on every level is deteriorating, it's very easy for us all to say, well then, nothing can be done. And in fact, this is almost true, but a complete lie, because however fatal, dramatic, blocked a situation is, there is always something that can be done. And this is what you have all very heroically, very courageously demonstrated in not letting this theatre being swept off the map and turned into the symbol of our age, which is a supermarket. So in taking this step together, many things reveal. First of all, however much society is fractured and splintered, and at this moment for you with elections coming up, it must be more so than ever, at the same time, small groups can work together and understand one another and take effective action. So what you've done is totally positive, and I think today the only thing that can interest us deeply is what's positive. For us to sit around, scratch ourselves and complain about what are negative is just too easy and totally destructive outside and self-destructive. So you have taken a step which shows that a group can think together, work together, discuss together, feel together, and act together. Act brings us to acting. You have saved a theatre, but that is not enough. Everything is on a rising ladder, and to say that we have saved a theatre doesn't take us right at the top of the ladder. It takes us onto the very first rung, the first step on the staircase, because then the question arises, what use is a theatre? I knew in the 60s it was a very pathetic, tragic, comic story of people who for several years worked and worked and worked to build a new theatre with their own hands, with no money, just with the possibilities they could find to make a new ideal theatre. And they succeeded. And they planted this on a wasteland outside Paris. And I went to see them, and the terrible moment when I asked them, what do you intend to do in this theatre? And over all these years of hard work, they had never put this question. And in a few weeks, the theatre was opening. It had no program, no idea. No, all that mattered was getting the theatre itself into shape. Now, I know that with you it's very different. There's so many people who are thrilled and delighted to use a space that they need. But still, the bigger question remains for all of us. What is the use of theatre? Why theatre? Now, this isn't an abstract question, but it isn't a question with a permanent answer. You can go back to all the great writings from ancient Greek, and you can find great formulations about what a state should be, what a republic could be, and many things over the last 100, 200 years of what a theatre could be. They are all out of date. Yesterday's answer is out of date. This is a question which we must re-examine every time. Well, certain things one can say. At this moment, when I'm speaking to you, it is freezing cold, and one sees that the first thing that a theatre can offer is a warm interior. An interior everything perhaps is dark outside, where there is light. And so for people to come together in one place with warmth and light is a starting point. And then what? And now the next question arises. Is theatre to do with life or not? And there have been many artistic, philosophical, and basically useless answers to this question in the name of art, which is a great word as meaningless as the word culture. Those are just labels. It's what they represent that matters. And what is the real quality that a theatre can bring? And this is where the question starts. A theatre is not outside life. There were times when people thought, well, we'll make something that's so beautiful and artificial that it's a magic world that is outside life. For about 300 years, the Italian theatre illustrated that, and the European theatre did likewise. But real theatre is about life. Living people relating to other living people. Some are called actors, some are called audience, but they're all living people working, thinking, and living together for a short period of time. And so, of course, it is within life and about life. So what is the difference? And the only difference is concentration. But if you look at the problems of the whole world, there are so many that to make anything that distills them is impossible. So one only can take them as a vast blur, like if you were to put on your iPad, you put it on whatever instrument you use, and something goes wrong, and all the signals that come from every part of it come onto the screen at the same time. You smash something in your television set, and it doesn't stop receiving signals, but they are such a mass of confused signals that you can't read anything at all. It is the same if we do what Shakespeare said, we hold a mirror up to life. But Shakespeare didn't say we hold a mirror up to life, because he knew that it would be this confusion of signals. He said theatre is holding a mirror up to life. And a mirror, even a big mirror, is a definitely circumscribed space. And so whatever is seen in it is concentrated. In theatre, there are two things that make for concentration. Concentration in space, because even the entire life of a single or group of people takes place in a small box. And concentration in time, in the diffuseness of time, where we spend all our lives unnecessarily, tragically, and beside ourselves wasting most of our time and most of our lives. In theatre, there is this focus, just like the focus of a camera, just sharpening the image, sharpening the time, so that in fact, in King Lear, which gives one a very, very extraordinary man's entire existence, this is concentrated into his last years, and that in turn is concentrated in something that we did the full version of King Lear, and I think it was around about 3.5 hours, not longer. In that time, because the situations are real life situations, but all the shit has been drained out of them. The genius of a great writer is just taking away the inessential and making the essential appear. In this way, in King Lear, the people, the situations, all that's unnecessary was boiled away by Shakespeare, and then you have the events which come one after the other, each event leading directly to the next, as it does so rarely in everyday life. There isn't a year to wait, and then a week, and then perhaps even half an hour before the next set. That must be, in a film and in a play, second by second. Otherwise, it becomes a bore. So, here you have these great elements of concentration, which enable life, whether it's a human life, a social life, a political problem, a relationship of man and woman or man and man, relationship problems, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, all those questions on a small scale or on a very large scale to be concentrated in time and in space. Now, you are making a theatre available to all manner of plays that can come and work there. And this is a mirror up to richness, the human experience. However bad the times we live in, if one stops saying how bad they are and just feels what's going on everywhere at this moment, life is of an incredible, bewildering richness, the simultaneous tapestry of events. Go back to our television screen. If we had the capacity to allow the screen to show simultaneously all the several hundred programs that are clamoring to get onto that screen, and if we could, with our minds, take in 300 screens simultaneously giving 300 completely different programs in different languages from different parts of the world, we would glimpse the unbelievable richness, moment for moment, of the living experience of the world today. But of course we can't. So we have to come back to instruments of concentration. But there is a new thing which is more than just a television screen or a computer that we could consider. I always feel that a theatre, particularly an indoor theatre, is like an image of the human brain, that within that space, and that's why particularly we're very attached to the Bouffe du Nord, because the shape of the Bouffe, this high rising columns that lead to a domed ceiling and encompass the whole audience into one circular glowing space, is like a brain. And within this brain, there are not only thoughts, there are also feelings, there are also actions, there are also silences, but above all, and this is really what all that I'm speaking about at the moment is leading to, within that there is the capacity to feel levels on this ladder that I've just spoken about, on this staircase, levels of finer and finer quality that give more and more sense and meaning to the human situation. And that is where something has been very easily forgotten in the theatre by the pursuit of art and culture for their own sake. Something that is lost today where the pursuit of vitality, energy, doing something well, new, excitingly and differently are also a danger. Those are all necessary, but within that you can have a play of tremendous, passionate action and excitement, but when you leave the theatre, you take nothing with you into your own life. You've just had a good, exciting moment that has alleviated the monotony, the repetitiveness, the boredom of the day. But on the other hand, and this is where it's so important to keep this as a goal in mind, always to study, always to be searched for, always to be what really gives sense to all our activities. If the audience coming into the theatre carries the whole of the outside world within their human brains and human bodies, they sit down, they watch, they respond, they laugh, they cry, they are totally involved in what's going on. At the end, do they go out with the same feeling towards life as when they came in? Or have they, and now one can dare use the word art, art in the great sense of what one can see in really remarkable things from the distant past, which is why picture galleries, art galleries, and concerts can be justified, because from the distant past, and even from the recent past, there are works that, within their terms of reference, go beyond the ordinary experience. Everyone knows this with music. Everyone knows this if you stand in front of any of the great works of Italian art of the 14th, 15th century. Then gradually the Baroque period took over and turned into the Rococo period, where decoration was more important than anything, and we're at the long dead end of that road today. But in the same way that in renewing this theatre's life, we can, within each action within a play, we can renew its life if we feel that it's so vital that we create a quality of experience that goes beyond the ordinary, beyond what the audience expect. So there is that element that one can call surprise. Surprise is another ladder, because there is ordinary surprise and astonishment. Surprise, more surprise, and amazement. And one doesn't want to stay rooted in either. You want to have that whole scale that in a way gives you your courage, your hope, your love, your feeling for life constantly renewed. And so when you leave the theatre, you have received something that you didn't have before you came. So good luck to all you do now onwards, with your courage, your resolution, and your revolutionary attitude. Ciao.